in depth on the actual life of a game developer, while I'll focus on the tools. So let's show the. Yeah, I already explained this more or less, but the key thing is also I get a lot of emails from people who are asking how do I get started, how do I work for Mojang, and I'm going to like try to help as many as possible now today, especially on how to get started. How to work on Mojang, that's a much larger topic, okay? So I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about what game development is. I'm going to show you a secret, like the key that will help you very, very, very much. And then I'm going to go through the tools, and I'm going to show you some Java examples. So I'm 34 years old. I started programming when I was around 12 or something. And I've also gone I have a master's degree in computer science. And the reason why I have that is maybe not because I needed to know programming, because I loved making games, so I learned programming more or less on my own. But 10 years ago, I was working for a company that went bankrupt, and I had to make a decision, and I decided, well, I don't know enough maths. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do another run at school, because I had actually already dropped out from the university because I thought it was boring. So then I realized, okay, I need more like basic science knowledge. So that's why I went back to school, and I finally got my degree. And I can say that if you're interested in doing the programming part of game development, well, maths is a really good subject to know about. Okay, but I wasn't a whiz kid or something. I just was very, very interested. I started programming in QBasic because my dad was a journalist and he had a PC at home with MS-DOS. And QBasic was a programming language, and it was also a tool. And it came with some examples, and that's basically how I learned to code, because I used these samples and I modified them to make, like there was a game called Nibbles, and I added, it looks on like in the picture on the left. I made it possible to play 3 players just by copying code. I didn't really understand what I was doing, so I was more like this dog. But I was very interested. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that at the bottom of all the slides, there's a link. In this zip file, you will find both this presentation with comments, and you will find all the examples that I'm going to show later. So you can download this to try these examples at home. Yeah, so I was just playing around, and it wasn't until I was about 17 years old or something that I finally started to understand how to actually start from scratch and get to something that I wanted to do. So don't be upset if it takes a long time to learn these things. So I'm a programmer, and you write computer code in order to tell the computer how to make it. You basically describing the rules to the computer, so you can move things around, and you tell the computer what happens when things touch each other, and like what are the rules for the score and so on. So that's what the programming part is. But a game consists of much more than just code. So it also has, like, you have to see something, and you have to hear something. Well, you don't have to, but it's often overlooked and it's a very large part of the experience of playing games, the audio. So there are other things you can focus on if you want to make games, because as I'm going to show you, the tools have become so easy to use that a lot of them help you with the coding if you're more into doing like an art experience rather than just like spaceships shooting at each other. But as I've already hinted at, it's kind of difficult to make a large game. You have to know a lot about computers, and computer gaming covers a lot of different areas. Like even like in AAA projects, it's not uncommon that the game itself actually has a database. So you have to have database knowledge, and it's a really complex area. But the good thing about learning how to code, learning more about how to make applications, is that your computer will become so much more useful. It's no longer just a toy. You can actually make it do what you want it to do, and you get a much better understanding of your computer. And I think that's very useful in today's environment, since you're always using computers at whatever you're doing. Luckily, the tools have gotten better, and there's this secret I was hinting at that is on your side. I didn't have this when I grew up, so that's why it took like a long time for me to learn to make games. And I also didn't know anyone that was coding, so I was just trying out everything. But there's one really good thing today that I didn't have. Do you have an idea? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have this. So basically, I'm done. But I'm going to show you the tools, as I promised. But absolutely, if there's something you don't understand, and you just type like Java, how to make interface or something, and then you'll get tutorials and articles and Yahoo questions and all kinds of things. Some of them are not very helpful, but you'll learn how to navigate the jungle out there. But yeah, so now I'm going to talk about the tools. And I'm going to do it from what's called low level and up. And low level doesn't mean it's easier in any way. It actually usually means it's harder, because low level is when you're fiddling with the bits and you have to handle memory management yourself, and it can be good in one way because you can actually optimize things very in a much detail, but it also usually takes more time to develop applications in a low-level language. And then I will go up all the way to where you don't actually see any logic code at all. It's just tools you drag and drop to make games in this case. So let's start with C and C++. This picture is from one of the games I made. It's completely written in C++. It's called Harvest. The C++ is a low-level programming language. It's used in what's called game engines most of the time, but almost all game engines these days, they try to cover or put layers on top of the C++ because the problem with C++ is that it takes very long time to develop, and you want to have something more flexible, so you usually put on scripting languages and other layers on top. So in a sense, this programming language, how many have heard of C++? Yeah, good. Okay, good. It's kind of in decline because of that, because all the large studios, all of them have C++ engines, more or less. But as I said, it takes, you rather want the games to be data-driven. So it means you want to have the engine should just read from other things in order to present the game. Yeah, let's see if I can explain this in a better way, but I'd say that you should not start with C++, but you should know about it, because that's what all the studios use today in their engines. Okay. Then there's a very similar language called, oops. Oh, I had all the slides. Oh yeah, of course, I must tell you where to find this. If you're on Windows, you can use Visual Studio Express. You just need a Microsoft account, like Hotmail. If on Mac, you have Xcode, and both of these are free. And there are C++ is very well documented, so just get a book, because even if you have the internet, it's nice to have a book that gets you through the starting and going into more complex parts. And this is a kind of an old language as well, so there's lots of information. And as I said, the trend is not to use C++, but to cover it with other languages. And then there's a similar language called D. This is slightly more modern than C++. It has more flexibility in the syntax of the language. I couldn't find very much information on how to make games in D. So, but if you're really interested in this, I mean, if you're really into programming already and want to see something new, then you should look up D, because that's a very interesting language for one that is a nerd like me. Okay, but let's move on to slightly more higher level languages. So we have Java. It's an interpreted language. You don't really need to understand what that means, but basically, instead of creating a standalone application, to run the Java application, you will need to have Java installed. So that's basically it. And as I write, it's a stable career choice today, because if you're a consultant, almost everything is in Java or in C#. So, and in my opinion, it's a nice language in the sense that it helps you with the complex parts of C++, like memory management, and it's very easy to make synchronized network applications. While it's not as dynamic like Lua and Python, because it has what's called hard-typed variables, and I think that means that when you want to keep a value in memory, you have to specify what kind of type that value is. For example, an integer or a string. In dynamic languages, you usually just say, I need to store something in memory, and it can be anything. But when it's hard typed, you can't change this type. And for me, that makes the code slightly easier to understand, even if you have to type more, because you know what's expected of you. And also, when you write code, you have something called the compiler that turns it into something that the computer can understand. And if you have hard-typed variables, the compiler will tell you if there's a problem. So I think it helps. But let's go on. We also have C#. It's like Java, but by Microsoft. It has become really popular in game development because of a tool called Unity. We use Unity when we make the client side of the game Scrolls. I'm not a Unity user myself, but it's on one of my to-do lists to learn this much better. But it's really popular tool. Many of these tools costs money. This is one of those, but they have a free version as well. You can read more about it on the website, of course. Yeah, but let's go on. So now we're going to even higher. So JavaScript is similar to Java, but it's focused on well, actually, it's only for browser applications and some Chromebook applications. It's similar to Java, but it's more dynamic. And if you're using you can actually edit code in a browser. For example, if you play Cookie Clicker, you can open the Java console and you can type game.ruinthefun. Then you get all the achievements. As I think I have on this one. Yeah, I have I don't know how many numbers that are, but I produce a lot of cookies. Yeah. But I don't use JavaScript, but there's a really nice thing about JavaScript, and that's a really great tutorial on getting into programming. It's on the Code Academy. Yeah, Code Academy. And these are like step-by-step instructions just to how do you store a number in an application, and how you do an if statement and so on. And it's really nice. And one thing about programming is that even if you know one, you don't have to focus on one programming language. You can learn one, and then it's kind of easy to change over to another one. So I can recommend this one if you're really new to programming. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, yes. ActionScript is also slightly on decline, I think, but it's used on in what you know as like Flash games, like on Congregate and such. I don't know much about this either, but it was very popular until Apple and Adobe started fighting each other. But this is also the tools for doing Flash games are also very good for making games. Obviously there are lots of Flash games. So the reason why I'm taking up all these different tools, if you may know someone, you may have a neighbor or someone that actually uses one of these, and then I'm gonna repeat this later, but you should pick one that you can get the most help with. So if you know someone that knows one language, it's much easier to work together, I would say. But let's go on. Then there's a tool called processing. It's used by one of artists in Scrolls for, he makes his own games in his spare time. It's also in like both a language and a tool, and the selling point is, yeah, it's apparently for artists who wants to get into programming, or programmers who want to become more artistic. And you can look it up. There's also Blitz Basic, which is also a tool and programming language. It's focused on making games. I started out with, as I said, with QBasic, and the language itself is it's easy to understand language. So you can look that up. And then we have Pygame, and the Pygame is like a library for Python to make it easier to make games. And obviously, since this is also a script language that requires the Python engine to run. This is also very popular. I haven't used it much myself. But on the other hand, I've used very much Lua. Lua is also a script language, and this has become really popular because it's easy to integrate, as I said, in C++ engines. You like to add a script on top, and Lua is one of those very popular scripts. And it's used in World of Warcraft for modding. We also use it in our game engine, Daisy Moon. So you know the game Cobalt, that like 95% of the game is in Lua script. So it's all Lua. Which is giving us problems now when we want to convert the game to Xbox, because it's not fast enough on Xbox. It's because we use a just-in-time compiler to make it fast on PC, and that's really, really great. But on the Xbox, it has a anti-hacking hypervisor that prevents you from executing in memory code. So that's a technical problem. So we'll solve that somehow. Anyway, the Lua is really nice. There's another engine called the Love engine for making games that you can try. Yeah, you will probably see this in various places. There's also this Corona SDK. It's a development kit for making games and applications for smartphones and tablets. And I tried this last week, and this is also real nice. The code is, you also write a code in Lua script, and it has lots of helpful tools for making games quickly. So at the next Mojam, I have planned to try to make a game in Corona, just to learn something new. Yeah, let's go on. Now we're getting into the topic of like more tools that only make games and that are intended to help you with the programming. And one of these is Multimedia Fusion. This was the tool that Daniel, who is coding most of Cobalt, got into game development. Yeah, this Multimedia Fusion and GameMaker are very similar. It has like drag and drop rules, and if you want to have more control, it also offers like a kind of their own scripting, and you can also attach other scripting languages, for example, Lua. GameMaker was the base for Hotline Miami, if you know that game, and the original Spelunky, and yeah, a bunch of like indie games. Yeah. But let's go on. Then we have games that are where you make games. So it's a game itself to make a game. For one of them is the Craft Studio that was showcased at MINECON last year, and they showed this Craft Fighter, which was Street Fighter with Minecraft characters. It's like a collaborative tool to make games, so that's also kind of cool. All right, but let's go on. Yeah, so pick the one that you can get the most help with, and that sounds interesting. And yeah, just randomly. I'm going to show you more Java now, but as you can see, there's very many options. Also, oops, yeah. Also the never mind. Let's do the Java tutorial instead. So the reason why I'm doing this is because Minecraft uses Java. Java is like free because Oracle provides the tools for free download. Nothing is free in this world because it makes you dependent on Oracle, but that's a different problem. And as I said before, it uses strong typing, and I kind of like that when it's learned. So let's do this. Okay, first you can look at it when you're at when you're home, but get the Java development kit from this URL. Get a so-called IDE. It's basically just a fancy editor which helps you compile and debug your code. It's very helpful. It's much better than using Notepad. I personally use Eclipse. A lot of the people at the office use IntelliJ. There's currently a campaign to get me into IntelliJ as well. So but I still use Eclipse. And then I'll show you how to create an empty project. Let's see. So now I've downloaded the Eclipse and I given it a workspace, for example, C/workspace. It looks like this then. So you have to go to the, hello, here, to the workbench. There you go. It looks like this. So you just, I right-click, new, Java project. I call it new. Finish. I have a source folder here, and then new class. If I'm going fast here now, as I said, you have the internet. There are hundreds of tutorials that will show you how this works. But first, okay, so I just make this is my new main, okay? Then I click this thing here, which says create a main method for me, and the main method is where the application will start. Woohoo! Oh my God, this is a small window. Let's close some things. Can I? Woohoo! Nope. All right. Now I can. Oops. Oh, never mind. I forgot to give it a package name. Never mind. I can run as Java application. And now window, show, console. There you go. Nothing happened, but it ran. So we do this. Oh. Sorry. And well, this is one of the reasons why you want one of these integrated development environments, because it helps me with giving me what methods are available, and that's an interesting way of finding new things. In this case, I happen to know that I want to print something, print a line. Oops. And all project starts with hello world. Oops, world. And then I run it again, and I get hello world here. Woo! And again, if you don't know if there's something wrong with your code, it will help you. It will show it says syntax error, insert a semicolon. Okay. And then you can actually, you don't actually have to do that. You can press in Eclipse, it's Control-1. Oh no, we didn't have suggestion. Okay, let's try something else. If I have, let's do like this. Just, this is meaningless, but I point, but to just show you, if you have an error here, you can press Control-1, then it helps you, like add unimplemented methods. And you get those. Yeah, so this is a little bit like an overcourse for now, but just to show you. Anyway, so we look at this again, and we take the next slide. Get examples. So if you saw the link down here, I included a couple of examples. So I have them here. I have Catacomb Snatch from Mojang 1. I have Nuclear Pizza War from Mojang 2. And then Code Breaker game just happens to be called a trademarked name, so I'm not going to say it. And I put them in my workspace. And then, yeah, I can import. Yeah. I choose existing projects in the workspace. I find my workspace, which is actually workspace 2 in this case. Okay. And it finds the projects for me. So I just finish. There we go. So I'm going to show you first. Okay. Now I actually have to read the instructions. But that's a good thing, because I included a README. Open. Yay! So we have, this is also included with the zip file, because in order for the Java to find like the pictures and sounds for these things, you have to give it some information. So you need to add this. So I'll just run, and gives me an error. This is described in the instructions, but when you run it the first time, it creates a run configuration. You can go into it, you choose the one, and then arguments, add this. Let's try it again. Oh, there you go. So you have this one. Okay. Oops, the brightness. So, yay. Okay. But but yeah. The thing about this is not to like show you the games. It's because this is how I learned to make games. I found examples and then I played around with them, so you can like look how did they do this, and you can. Well, I can't really navigate this code right now, but for example, you can just like change how much damage the weapons give, and you add your own weapon and things like that. But I'm gonna show you another example here. If you're really new to programming, I wonder if I can make this. Yeah, like that. If you're really new to programming, there's an interesting way to code that I did in the beginning, and that is to do everything really sequentially. I mean, like when you want something to happen, you make it happen like right there, and you don't try to like make the code clever in any way. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. In this example, it's a text adventure. I have made this get selection method for you, but when you make a selection, you go directly into that part of the game, and then you make a new selection, and you go directly into that part, and then you go directly. So there's no, it's everything's like you go deeper and deeper into the code, and there's no returning. So when you're done, you just call the method again, and when you don't want to, you go to city again. Like in a real coding world, you wouldn't do this because there's something called a stack overflow. But this is for on this level. The challenge is just to understand what's this if statement. If you want to learn just that, this is a way to ignore everything else and just get started. And I'm going to show you this game. Oops. Okay. So we have the console here. So this is the game. So okay, I can exit. Okay, thanks. That works. And I start a new game, and I'm a dwarf. Okay, dwarf. Okay, I leave the city. And I would say, oh, it's covered in sharp pebbles. I cut my bare feet, so it's game over. Okay. So let's try again. I'm at dwarf again. It's dwarf 2. So okay, I need shoes. So I go to the shop. I buy the boots, and then never mind. I leave the city. I encounter an angry goblin. Okay. Now we're fighting. So I received 19 gold. I encounter another goblin, another goblin, and now I'm tired. So I return to the city. I go to the taverna. I receive my health. I go to the shop. I have 82 gold, so I buy the sword, and so on. So this is one way of doing games. Also, obviously, this is easier because you don't have to think about making artwork for the game. But I've also included this code breaker game. So this shows you how to use. This is called Java Swing. It's a user interface library in Java. So this just shows you how to use labels to make this. Oops. Guess one right. This is actually the optimal strategy, in case you were wondering. Oh, okay. So let's try white here. White, orange, double blue then. So let's say it should be red here instead, and it should be orange here. And we remove the white. So this one was there. No, that can't be right. This is embarrassing. I'll close it down. So you have the code for this as well. Then this was actually an example I pulled from the internet, so I haven't made this, but you can find in this README here. It's a set code. I don't have internet here, so I can't click it. But this has lots of tutorials on how to make all kinds of both games and applications and such in Java. Let's see here. It looks like this. Oops. Okay. Sorry. This is also described in the. So I have to actually do. This one it seems really complicated. I know, but I think I have to add that one. There we go. So I don't remember how to shoot. Oops, not like that. Okay, let's just game over. Yeah, but that example and this, you go here for a lot of examples on how to make Java 2D games. Oops, I just told you not to click that. And then and there's also like more simpler Java examples here. When you get into more depth of Java programming, you will discover that most of the games made in Java actually use some kind of it's called native library. For example, Minecraft uses the one called lightweight Java game library, and these are to get more performance, and especially when you make 3D applications. But when you feel ready for that, again, you have the internet. There's lots of information. There's one cool library called libgdx that you can look up if you're already a slightly advanced developer in Java. God damn it! What? Sorry? No, but No, but I pressed back. And this file it's on my hard drive. Okay. All right. Let's go on. What's next? Oh yeah, I talked about these. Search for more tutorials. There are plenty. Or get books. That's the good thing about books is that they are usually structured in a more I don't know the English pedagogic discipline. It's pedagogisk in Swedish. Yeah, well, they show you things in a good order, okay? And then I suggest you clone the classics. That's a very good way of learning to go do games. For example, Pong, Snake, and yeah, the other games you can see here. And let's see here. There's more than just code, of course. You will have to make sound and artwork. There are plenty of tools for that as well. I use GIMP when I make the sprites for Minecraft. It's like Photoshop, but stranger. And we use Blender at the office for making 3D models. We don't make many 3D models yet, but we have some prototypes in which we have more 3D elements. I mean, in Minecraft, all the models are coded. They are not modeled. So it's a bit different. And again, there are books on game design as well. There's books on how to draw sprites as well. And then you can get advanced. As I said, there are libraries. And there's Minecraft modding. If you know Java, there's a Minecraft coder pack by Michael, who is now on the actual Minecraft team. Just go to Ocean Labs in the URL here. It's a tool that opens the jar file of Minecraft, lets you do modifications, and then packs it together again. So you, for example, can you can actually make all kinds of mods if you want, but also simple things like removing the creeper from the game. All right, let's finish this. There's a really cool forum called javagaming.org for Java game development discussions. You can go there. I talked to them. Well, I mean, I didn't actually talk to them. I was writing in the forum about me talking here, and they had some really cool ideas on their tips and hints on how to do games. So you can go and read about it there. And there's also this independent gaming source. It's a discussion forum for people, hobbyists that make games. It's a really nice place to. It's less about programming and more about what is a game and what's good game design, and get ideas for new games. Like a lot of the games that are popular today have their roots in the independent gaming source. For example, Minecraft and Infiniminer that Minecraft was inspired by, and Spelunky and Hotline Miami and so on. Yeah. And so I'm very glad you all came and listened to me. And again, there's another panel on getting started with game development if you want to know even more about this. Thanks.